Hi parents, welcome to Leap 101 for Parents. We usually do this face-to-face, but due to COVID, we are going to do this virtually. Our teachers have put together a wonderful presentation for you and your students if you'd like to go over this with them as well as to what the Leap test will look like. Now they are doing many things in class, and we'll go over that today as well to prepare the students and to make sure that they are as comfortable as possible as we face this assessment. So I'm going to go over testing dates with you as I share my screen real quick. Oops. Here we go. Okay. Move my stuff out of the way. Okay. So our testing dates are going to be from April 26th through May 5th, and not all students will test on the same days. We've broken it down here for you. Third grade doesn't start until April 28th. Fourth grade and fifth grade do begin on April 26th, and their testing dates look a little bit different. Our third graders will be taking their test paper pencil, and fourth and fifth grade students will be taking their test on the computer. They've been practicing and preparing for this and should not have any trouble, especially this year. We've done so much more on devices. They are very ready for this. So as we kind of look at what our presentation goes over today, what are the different parts of the test? Where can I find sample tests or questions? What is JPE doing to prepare my student? And what can I do as a parent to help prepare my student? Why is this test important for my kiddo anyway? So we'll go through that. And then also, how will this LEAP assessment affect my student? So we'll go through each of those things. The teachers are going to hit on specifics of each grade level and what testing looks like. Also, the time frames that are needed. We've been preparing our students to get more comfortable with the time. We don't time a lot of things here, and so they are getting much more comfortable with that. They're realizing that, yes, the test is timed, but there is adequate time to complete what they are expected to complete. So we're going to jump in with our teachers. Thank you so much again for joining us through this presentation.
Hi, parents.
Hello.
Hi. I'm Kelly Lowry, and I teach ELA and Social Studies here at Jubin, and we're going to talk to you today about the LEAP test ELA portion. For fifth grade, they will be taking that on the computer.
And I'm Alex Wells, and I teach ELA and Social Studies for fourth grade, and we will also be taking LEAP on the computer.
And I'm Cindy Jones, and I teach third, fourth, and fifth, and our third graders will be taking the test paper pencil, and my fourth and fifth will also be taking it on the computer.
So we're going to share with you guys some information. At any time, feel free to pause the video and take a closer look at some slides that we're going to walk through, and let us know if you have any questions. Pull this up. All right. So as most of you are probably already aware, reading and writing has become our entire curriculum. No matter what subject we teach, the students are reading complex text. They're having to write to respond. So that's going to be a big portion of the LEAP test. What you see here are the categories. You'll see on the reports, they're divided between reading and writing. They have literary text, informational text, along with reading vocabulary. And then for writing, there's written expression and knowledge and use of language conventions. This is just a breakdown showing you how many passages the students may have to read on the test, along with how many questions. And for the written response, every grade, third, fourth, and fifth, will have two essays. The types of answers, questions and answers, can vary. This is just showing you a typical multiple choice, but then there's some that the students will have to select more than one answer. And it will tell them in the question how many to select, as the example here says 2. Another option is this text box, and that's where they will embed their compositions, whether it's a short response or an essay. And the online tools that you see up at the top, our students are very familiar with, just as if they had the paper in front of them, narrowing down, highlighting, all that's accessible on the computer. Some other types of questions are the technology enhanced. So this one shows an example of the passage you could still see on the left, but the Venn diagram, you would drag and drop. So here you can see the options to the side, and the students would just drag and drop to the correct boxes.
And these are things that we have been practicing in class daily and weekly. So our children and your children are very familiar with these types of enhanced technology questions.
And they seem kind of cumbersome to parents, you know, that maybe haven't seen this, and the students, it's just every day for them. They're used to it. Another option is the drop down. So when the students would click the little drop down arrow, it'll give them choices of words that they need to select for their answers. This is another example of a drag and drop. They have 6 different pieces of evidence down there, and the students would have to drag those to the correct places. This is an example of how many points each part of it would be worth for the essays. So there's 3 different types of writings that the students are already very familiar with. Those are literary analysis, research simulation, and the narrative writing. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade will have a research task on either the first or second day. Whichever they have next could either be the literary or the narrative, but they will be composing that research task. This just breaks down, and we'll look at a rubric a little later. This is the same amount of points as they're getting scored for in class on class assignments and essays. This is going to be an example for the research simulation. It just goes to show a little difference between 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. In 3rd grade, they'll have 2 passages, and 4th and 5th, they'll have 3, with the time allotment being slightly different as well. You can see there 75 versus 90. And for the research, they will be reading informational sources. It could be details from articles, websites, encyclopedias, lots of primary sources. Could be on science topics, social studies topics, and they'll have to respond to that. These next few slides are just examples of what they might look like. And you could see that one was 3rd grade, along with these are some answer choice, the questions and the choices. And you can see that what's highlighted, those are like the little tools the students will be able to access and highlight. On these multiple choice ones, the students would have to get part A correct in order to receive any credit. Part A is like the answer, whereas part B is the justification for that. And if they got part B correct, they didn't get part A, they wouldn't get any credit. So it's more heavily focused on that part A. Let's get the answer first, then justify it. Just some more examples of what they might look like. That's 4th grade, another 3rd grade. And here the multiple choice tells them how many to select. And this is what their composition might look like. Time allotment again. You could see they went through and did some highlighting. For the literary task, that's where students will be exposed to fiction stories, dramas, poems, plays, poetry. Poems and poetry.
Yes, good job.
So they'll also have to write an essay. If they write an essay on this one, it might say, you know, what's the theme of this story, or what character qualities were portrayed in this story. Points of view is also a very common one with literary, so we do a lot of practice on that one.
Yes, absolutely.
And then here's some examples of what the literary could look like. That's a 5th grade. There's some multiple choice. Another 5th grade option, a poem. And then the last writing that they may have is a narrative. Sometimes the students like these because they get to have a little bit more creativity, but we just don't know, so we prepare them for all. The narrative, it could be write this story from another character's point of view. It could be journal entries. We've come across those a lot, so we practice those journal entries. So these are just going to be examples of the narrative writing. This is a 4th grade one. You can see in the task down there, it tells them to imagine what the story would be from somebody else's point of view. The last day of ELA, so there will be 3 test days. The first 2, they will have a writing. The last day, they will not have a writing. It's just going to be passages with questions. And those passages will be a little bit more complex. They'll be exposed to some maybe higher vocabulary. But since there's no writing that day, It's just a little bit higher level of complexity on the passages.
And this is the day our students love. They love, love, love this day.
Some more examples of that, and you could see no written task on that day. This is an example of the rubric that they will use to score their LEAP writings. We use the same rubric in class. It may be worded a little differently just to make it a little more student-friendly and parent-friendly to understand it. But those you have probably seen in those folders coming home. This just breaks down how those writings are scored. And we would like to thank you guys so much for taking an interest in your child's education and helping us get them prepped and ready and excited for this LEAP test. We don't want it to be something stressful or they're anxious over. So we're going to involve some school and classroom activities to help them work through that. But we appreciate you guys taking an interest and playing a part.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Now say hi again.
Hi, I'm Kelly Price, 3rd grade math teacher.
Hi, I'm Rita Olivier, 5th grade math teacher.
And I'm Sarah McCrary. I teach 4th grade math. We're going to share some information with you today about the Math LEAP test for this school year. The Math LEAP assessment strongly focuses on the content that's most needed in each grade level. And this is great for us this year because we're focusing on that as well. Our time has been limited due to our hybrid schedule and quarantines, but we're definitely making sure that your students are prepared by focusing on the content that the LEAP focuses on as well.
The LEAP addresses conceptual understanding, procedural skills and fluency, and application in every grade level. Students are expected to solve real-life problems, provide reasoning, arguments, and justifications to support their answers. Some problems will require students to show calculations and apply and interpret mathematical modeling in a real-world context.
All right, there are 3 different types of LEAP questions. One is going to be on conceptual understanding, fluency, and application. The second one will be on through expressing reasoning by constructing math arguments and critiques. And the third and final will be solving problems in real-world contexts and scenarios, engaging particular in modeling practices.
This year, the LEAP will be administered in 3 sessions for math, and that's true for students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Their first session will last for 75 minutes and will count for 21 points of their score. Session 2 will be 85 minutes and will count as 20 points of their score. And session 3 will be 75 minutes and count for 21 points of their score. The information that's included on this slide breaks that down even further. So if you would like to pause to check out what your student will be doing on each session.
Calculators will not be used on grades 3 to 5 in any part of the test.
There are multiple choice questions that are your typical select one, but there are also multiple select questions in which students are asked to provide more than one answer, and the question will specifically tell them how many choices they should make.
Both 4th and 5th grade will be taking their test on computers, and so the computer also provides them some support in making sure that they select the right number of options. It won't allow them to select more than they need to select.
3rd grade will be paper pencil, but it will tell them in the question how many answers should be selected. This is an example of an answering bubble grid for paper pencil testing in 3rd grade. And is like a typical fill in the bubble, but students write the number of their answer at the top, filling in starting from left to right, and then underneath fill in the coordinating bubble. This is something we have done throughout the school year to make them prepared so they're not surprised when they see these, but it's also good for constant practice in filling in bubbles and just understanding this new way to show your answer.
And for 4th and 5th grade who are computer-based testing, these types of responses will give students an empty box and they'll type their number in.
Third grade, as far as assessment tools and resources, the only one we will use is a ruler on certain sections of the LEAP test.
And for fourth and fifth grade, they'll be given a ruler that has both centimeters and inches and a protractor. Both of these tools will be digital so that they're able to use them on their digital tests. Third and fourth grade, neither one will have a reference sheet. They're not required to have one. Fourth graders are required to know the knowledge that's listed on these on this slide. Most of the information is measurement equivalencies, but they're also required to know the formula for area and perimeter. Fifth grade does not.
Fifth grade receives this reference sheet. It will be on the computer, and they will also have a paper copy. There is some prereqs that they need to know at the bottom of the screen that they will have to have prior knowledge of. Fourth and fifth graders will have online testing tools. They have been trained during computer lab on how to use all the different types of tools, so the students are familiar with, using them on the screen.
Now we're going to scroll through some sample questions. They're labeled with the type of question, and they're also labeled with the grade. We're going to scroll through them, and if you would like to pause to look at any of the questions, you may. As you look at these questions, if you are concerned about how you can help your student prepare, or if you have questions about your specific student in testing, definitely reach out to your math teacher, to your student's math teacher, and she will help you make sure that your child is ready and help you make sure your child is comfortable.
Third grade will also be sending home practice pencil paper LEAP tests that we took the previous week. We're getting finished checking those now, and they will come home and you can have a paper copy of examples of testing questions.
That's all the information that we have for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and please know that we are working to make sure that your students are prepared and ready to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, this is Miss Booth.
And Ms. Kidder.
And we're here today, and we're going to talk to you about the social studies portion of the LEAP test. If you look in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the testing dates for each grade. Third grade is going to be May 4th, and they are going to have paper pencil test. Fourth grade is May 4th through the 5th, and fifth grade is April 30th and May 3rd through the 4th. Fourth and fifth grade will have, they will take their test on the computers this year. Today, we're going to look at the testing design for third grade through fifth grade. In the test sessions, there's two sessions, session 1 and session 2, and they're both 75 minutes long. In each session, they will have item sets and they will have standalone questions. Item sets are when they have a source, they have different sources, and they will have to use those sources in order to answer their questions. Standalone items will be questions that are asked that are just, they're going to have to use their prior knowledge of what they've learned in class. And those are all going to be like selected response questions. In the item sets, if you look over to the number and types of questions, you have SR, which means selected response, which is multiple choice, or multi-select. Multi-select means that they're going to have to select more than one answer, so up to 2 to 3 answer choices. And then CR is constructed response, meaning they're going to have a writing to do. So they're going to have to answer a question, and they are going to have to back up their answer with an explanation and evidence from the text. And you'll see some examples of these later on in the slideshow. Fourth grade is very similar to third grade in the fact that there are two sessions and they're both 75 minutes long. The only difference is that you're going to see the initials TE, the abbreviation. The abbreviation TE means technology enhanced. Technology enhanced items are going to be test questions that the students are going to have to move on the screen. So it's going to be like drop and drag, or they might have to match words. So it's going to be, it's not going to be where they just click on an answer. They're going to actually have to move the answers and put them in the correct spot.
Okay, and then for fifth grade, it will definitely be on the computer. It's very similar to third and fourth with a few additions. There will be 3 sessions instead of 2. You'll also notice for session 2, there's a task set. The difference with the task set is that at the end of it, they will have an extended response, which is more of a paragraph. It's going to be much more of a longer essay than a constructed response. The first session is going to be 65 minutes. Second session is 65 minutes, and the third session is also 65 minutes for a total of 195 minutes.
Here are some sample questions. This is from 3rd grade. This is a multiple select item. So they're going to have to use their sources, and they're going to have to select 3 correct answers. So they'll have more than one source. They'll have up to 3 to 4 sources, and they'll be able to use all of those sources to help them. This is another example of a source. This is a vertical timeline. So the students a lot of times are used to seeing horizontal timelines. This one looks a little bit different, but it's still a timeline. So they will be exposed to this in class. And then if they see it on the test, they will be able to identify what it is and how to read it. This is an example of a constructed response. This is what it would look like on the computer, but since 3rd grade is paper and pencil, they will have to write their response and keep it within the box that is provided for them. This is an example of a 4th grade multiple choice item. As you can see, there's a diagram that they are going to have to use, as well as a little like a sentence above it that's going to explain what's being shown. You also have another source that's an illustration or an engraving, excuse me, and they have a passage above it. And then they also have a timeline. Timeline looks a little bit different, but it's still a timeline, and they will understand how to read that. Right here, you have select the 2 correct answers. So they're going to have to choose at least, well, 2 answers. And down here, this is the box that they're going to have to type their constructed response in. These are also some other documents that they could be exposed to seeing. You have a map, and then you have an excerpt. You also have an advertisement. So these are just a variety of sources that they could see on the test.
The next slides are a few examples what 5th grade may see on their test. There's a few sources, short paragraphs, another illustration. They're actually used to seeing a lot of these sources. We use a lot of the same type pictures and sources in class doing our classwork, so they're very familiar with these. Here you'll see your extended response. This is quite longer than a constructed response. This is where they would do probably 4 to 5 paragraphs, not only incorporating text knowledge, but examples from the text, but also bringing in their knowledge of social studies.
So these are just some examples on the LDOE website, the Louisiana Department of Education website. They also have some other samples that you can pull up and you can look at. The students are, we're reviewing this in class. We're going over these types of questions that they could possibly see. So by the time they get to that LEAP test, they will be ready to take it. They might be a little nervous now, but when they get it in front of them,
they'll definitely be ready.
They're going to be able to rock it.
In this video, we will cover key information regarding the science section of the LEAP test. The testing dates are as follows. 3rd grade will test May the 3rd. There will be 3 sessions and the test will be paper-based. 4th grade will test April 27th and 28th and May 3rd. The test will be 3 sessions and it will be a computer-based test. 5th grade will test April 27th, 28th, and 29th. The test will be 3 sessions, and it will also be computer-based. Now we are going to take a look at important information regarding the questions on the science portion of the LEAP test. In the classroom, students develop skills and content knowledge reflected in the performance expectations and detailed in the disciplinary core ideas. the key ideas in science that have a broad importance within or across multiple science or engineering disciplines. However, simply having content knowledge and scientific skills are not enough. Students must investigate and apply content knowledge to scientific phenomena. Phenomena refers to real-world observations that can be explained through scientific knowledge and reasoning. On the test, students do more than answer recall questions about science. They apply the practices or behaviors of scientists and engineers to investigate each real-world phenomenon and design solutions to problems. In the classroom, students develop a coherent and scientifically based view of the world. They must make connections across the domains of science. These connections are identified as cross-cutting concepts. On the test, sets of questions assess student application of knowledge across the domains of science for a comprehensive picture of student readiness for their next grade or course in science. The test includes item sets and standalone items. A scientific phenomenon provides the anchor for each item set or standalone item. Stimulus materials related to the scientific phenomenon provide context and focus for sets. A variety of stimulus material provide context for each described phenomenon. Art is used to help convey information in simplified form. Examples include maps, charts, data tables, bar or line graphs, diagrams, pictures, photographs, or artist renderings. In addition to the information presented in the stimulus materials, these questions require students to bring in content knowledge from the course to demonstrate their understanding of science. Some item sets culminate with a short constructed response item. Each test includes standalone items which are not part of an item set. Now we're going to talk about some of the questions and how they're set up on the science portion of the LEAP test. Selected response includes traditional multiple choice questions with 4 answer options and only 1 correct answer, as well as multiple select questions with 5 answer options and more than 1 correct answer. For multiple select items, the question identifies the number of correct answers. All selected response items are worth 1 point each. 2-part selective response requires students to answer 2 related questions worth 2 points. 2-point items may combine SR item types. 2-part dependent is where the first selected response must be correct in order to earn credit for the second selected response item. 2-part independent is where each selected response is scored independently of each other. Constructed response requires a brief response provided by the student and will be scored using a 2-point rubric. These items may require a brief paragraph or a few sentences. Extended response requires a student to write an in-depth response that expresses the student's ability to apply all 3 dimensions of the LSS for science and will be scored with a 9-point rubric. The test is designed in 3 sessions for 3rd grade. We've provided a chart as follows. Now you will find examples based on grade level of what some questions on the science portion of the LEAP test may look like. Feel free to pause the video and analyze these questions as you see fit. This concludes the video with information regarding the science section of the LEAP test.
Now that our teachers have gone over the different parts of the test with you, in the summer we'll get their scores back, and there will be different achievement levels that will be on that score report for you to see. We usually send those with students the first or second day of school. Students who score advanced have exceeded the expectations that we've set forth for them and will be very prepared for the next grade level. Students who score in mastery are exactly where we want them to be. They have met our expectations and are very ready for the next grade level. Students who score basic are almost exactly where we want them to be, but they may need a little additional support the following year. Students who score approaching basic have partially met the expectations that we have, and we will offer much support to those students the following year in school. And then our students who score unsatisfactory have not yet met the expectations in many areas and will need extensive support to be ready for content in this area. So those are the achievement levels. Mastery is certainly where we want them to be. And so kind of keep that in mind as you receive your child's scores. What are we doing in school to prepare your students? The teachers mentioned many different things. I'm going to hit on just a few things. The Louisiana Student State Standards are what we present in class all day, every day. That's how we build our curriculum and our instruction. The LEAP 360 practice tests and interim assessments are used. These are computer-based tests. We do print things out for our third graders to have good practice, and this is how we do timed practice. It's exactly how the test looks. They'll use the online tools as we showed you throughout the program, throughout the presentation, and so that is how they practice that, and it gives us some feedback as to how they're progressing in content areas. We use iReady, MobyMax, and Prodigy day to day to help students prepare for these standards and for the test. We also go over test taking strategies. Learning how to attack the test is almost just as important as the content. We want to make sure that nothing hinders their score and nothing hinders them from showing exactly what they know. So we work on different strategies there. Our district has created standards-based tests, as well as our standards-based unit assessments that they take here at school. All of our assessments are standards-based so that they line up with that LEAP test and with our Louisiana State curriculum. And then we also have tutoring programs like RTI within school, and then enrichment programs through our LEAP tutoring and other teacher tutoring that's offered. These are some test-taking strategies that you might want to hit on with your students. Ms. Vicari has a separate video on test anxiety with some more strategies that you might want to watch. But these are just some simple things you can go over with your child. Remember to read the directions as carefully as the questions. The directions will tell them exactly what they need to do. Also, any written assignment needs to be in complete sentences, and we encourage them to always show their work in math assignments because their partial credit is given a lot of times. We want them to read all of their answers before choosing one. We know that eliminating those answers can give us a smaller number of possible right answers, and so they know how to do this. Definitely be looking for keywords, and then skip a question if you're completely stuck on it. The online test has something that you can do that is called flagging, and they can flag a question at the end of their test. It'll show them all the questions they flagged, and they can go back and work on those that they thought they needed a little bit more time to think about. So these are all options and strategies that we've been using to prepare students for testing. As a parent, sometimes testing is more stressful on the parent than it is on the student. So we want to help you with some tips as well. First of all, attendance is crucial for students to do well on these tests. We do so many hands-on and discussion-based partner work activities as we go through the curriculum. If they're not here, yes, they can do makeup work, but it does not have the same effect on our kids as just being here and working with the teacher and the class. So we encourage you to have your students here at school. Look over homework each day. Ask them to do it, and then you check it for them before they turn it in the next day. Make sure they understand what they're doing. Also, when they get test papers back, go over those. See if they understand what they missed, and make sure that they're ready to go on. If not, definitely contact your teacher. We want to make sure that they are using that information to build to the next unit or to the next lesson. We ask you not to pressure your child about the test. We try not to pressure them as well, even though we must prepare them. We don't want it to be pressure. The students are going to be ready with the curriculum that we provide for them. We need you to encourage them. Do your best work. You're going to do great. I can't wait to see you at the end of the day. They don't want to fail. They want to make us proud. And so we just want to encourage them to show what they know. Bedtime is extremely important, especially with elementary age students. They need about 10 hours of sleep a night. So about a week ahead of testing, we ask that you set a reasonable bedtime and stick to it. We want them focused and ready for testing each day. And then allow them time to wake up and get ready for their day. If they eat breakfast at home, we ask for that to be a high protein, low sugar meal so that it lasts them a while. And they learn better on full stomachs. So we want to make sure everybody has a chance for breakfast. And at the end of the day, talk to them about how the test went, how it went, what did they do well, and what would they do differently the next day. But just kind of a brainstorming session where you get to listen. You know, you're not giving a whole lot of input, but they are allowed to kind of vent about the day. These are some websites and apps if you want to work with your child more and as we prepare for testing. Homeworkla.org is a wonderful website where you can do a live chat with someone if you're struggling to help your child with their homework. IXL.com is a paid program, but every student gets 15 free minutes a day, and it's got skills in ELA, math, science, and social studies. That's very helpful. Each day, 15-minute little practice. MobyMax, all of our students have a login, and there also are different skills packages for every subject: ELA, math, social studies, and science. iReady.com, students have a login already. There are different paths they can follow in iReady. We encourage them to use the My Path because that is what the diagnostic test has told us that they need more work in. So, and they use this at school all the time. Learn Zillion and Khan Academy are great websites for us as parents, especially with the new math that we all kind of struggle with. There are videos, short 4 to 5 minute videos that help us be able to help our students with some of that work that we just may not understand yet. Edulastic.com is wonderful test prep. ReadWorks is wonderful for passages and comprehension questions. And then, of course, our LouisianaBelieves.com, which is our State Department website, and that's where all of our practice tests are housed. So if you would like to see what the practice test looks like in its entirety, or rubrics or anything like that, you can find them there. This concludes our Testing 101, Leap 101 presentation for this year. We appreciate your patience as we have to do it virtually. We thank our teachers for doing a great job, not only with your students every day, but for also taking the time to present this information virtually to you. Of course, if you ever have any questions, concerns, you can contact us and we'll be more than happy to help you.